realized that I was throwing up blood and I was sent to the emergency room. I had another CT scan done, which did show that I was having a small bowel obstruction. Hey everyone, I'm Emily and welcome back to my channel. In my last video, I talked all about how I was diagnosed with Crohn's. Now this was back in May of this year, so it's only been a few months. After being diagnosed with Crohn's, I thought I had finally figured out what was going on and I could put an end to the pain. However, that seemed to be when the pain all started. As I mentioned before, it took a really long time for me to be able to get approved for my medication by insurance, and because of that, I was put on a different medication called prednisone. This medication helped take down the inflammation, and it did help me to feel better. However, there were a lot of side effects with it, including nausea, other stomach cramping, fatigue, and this really took a toll on my body. However, after 2 months of being on it, I finally started to feel back to normal. I was able to enjoy things in life. My family went on a trip to Disneyland. My husband and I got a puppy. Things seemed to be going really well until they weren't. It had been about a month since I finished the prednisone, and I was feeling really good. On July 29th, I woke up and something felt a little bit off. I started feeling really nauseous and bloated, and that's when I started throwing up. This wouldn't have been so bad if it was just a stomach bug. However, I soon realized that I was throwing up blood, and it became much more serious. My husband and I quickly ran to an urgent care where they took some blood work and felt like I might have some stomach ulcers, and I was sent to the emergency room again. When I got to the emergency room, they were able to do more blood work, which was inconclusive that anything was going on. They didn't see any stomach ulcers, and there was no internal bleeding, so they weren't too concerned. However, they did say that I could stay overnight to be monitored, or I could go home and monitor myself there, and so that's what I chose to do. There is something about being in the comfort of your own home that just makes health problems seem a whole lot easier to deal with. Pretty soon, everything was back to normal and I felt fine. However, 3 days later, I woke up once again with extreme nausea, cramping in my abdomen, and I started throwing up again. I tried really hard to wait it out because I did not want to go back to the emergency room again. I was sick of hospitals and I wanted to figure things out on my own. After a few phone calls with my doctor, I decided that I needed to go into the emergency room to see if there was something more serious going on, like an obstruction or a blockage. They were able to give me pain meds and nausea, which helped so much. However, I still needed to figure out what was going on. So, once again, I had another CT scan done, which did show that I was having a small bowel obstruction. For those of you who may not know what this is, a small bowel obstruction is when the entirety or part of your small intestine is blocked off, so things are not able to pass through it, which results in this cramping and the nausea, and it honestly feels like nothing is going to get better in that moment. Small bowel obstructions can be caused by different things like hernias or Crohn's or ulcerative colitis, which are both known as IBD. And so it made perfect sense why I was having a small bowel obstruction since I have Crohn's disease. Because this small bowel obstruction wasn't as severe as it could have been, they were able to treat it with medications like antibiotics and pain meds. And after a few days of being monitored there and my body started working again, I was able to go home and I just had to monitor things from there. This was a really scary experience because there are so many unknowns, especially when it comes to your intestines. One day I was able to just go about my day, and the next all I could think about was if my body was working and if I was gonna have another blockage and if I was gonna be okay. And that's one of the scary parts about Crohn's, is that it's a constant unknown. There's so much unknown everywhere, and the last few months have been full of those unknowns. Not knowing what's behind the corner, if I'm gonna make it through the day without throwing up, without being sick. And I am just so grateful for doctors and for modern medicine that allowed me to get back to at least what I thought was a normal life for the next little while. If you find yourself ever experiencing any of these symptoms, I think it is so important to go to your doctor and to seek medical help, because all I wanted to do that day was just stay at home with a heating pad on my stomach and just sleep and push all my problems away. But had I not gone into the emergency room, things could have gotten much worse, and it could have been much more life-threatening. The same week that I had my small bowel obstruction, I was supposed to be going on a family trip up into the woods. Because of this, I had to get my doctor's approval to be able to go, which resulted in getting an MRI done of my abdomen. It was definitely an interesting process and not a very comfortable one, but it showed that there was some inflammation still, but that I would be able to resume normal activity and hopefully enjoy my family reunion. At least that's what I thought. Let's just say that things took a turn. So make sure that you subscribe so that you can stay for long for the rest of the journey and hear what happens next.